Have you ever stood on the edge of your own life, quietly wondering, is this all there is? Not out of hopelessness, but from a strange whisper rising deep inside, a desire for more. More freedom, more joy, more life. And if you've ever felt that whisper, then you've already stood at the threshold Neville Goddard speaks of. It is not an accident that your desire has led you here. Desire, according to Neville, is not a flaw to be silenced or a fantasy to be dismissed. It is divine. It is God speaking through you, saying, "This is who you truly are. Come closer." And what if I told you that the gateway between who you are and who you long to become does not lie in action or effort or external change, but in midnight? A silent, symbolic hour. The line where one day dies and another is born. The precise moment when the noise of the world grows still, and your soul finally begins to speak. Neville Goddard understood something most people never stop to consider. Transformation doesn't begin when you change your life. It begins when you change your state. And midnight, by its nature, invites stillness, the exact state required to enter the creative workshop of imagination. Why midnight? Why now? Because the world sleeps. And when the world sleeps, the doors of distraction close. No phones, no to-do lists, no pressure to perform. Just you and your consciousness. And in that space, the veil between the conscious and the subconscious, the outer and the inner, is thin. This is not a romantic metaphor. It is a sacred formula. Neville taught that in this moment of deep stillness, right before sleep, we naturally enter what he called the state akin to sleep, a twilight zone where the conscious mind loses its grip and the subconscious stands wide open. And this matters more than we've been taught to believe, because it is your subconscious, not your effort, not your logic, that shapes your reality. The subconscious does not argue, question, or resist. It simply accepts, and what it accepts, it expresses. So ask yourself, what do you want your subconscious to accept tonight? What do you want your world to become tomorrow? Before you fall asleep, you stand at a crossroads, not between right and wrong, not between fear and faith, but between who you have been and who you now choose to become. Midnight is the moment, not because of a clock, but because of a conscious decision to enter stillness, to let go, to surrender the identity you've carried all day, and instead, assume the one your soul has been waiting to express. Neville Goddard was clear. You are not the victim of your conditions. You are the cause, and the seed of any new condition begins not in action, but in assumption. So tonight, as the clock strikes 12, don't just lie down. Descend. Enter the inner sanctuary, not to escape life, but to rewrite it, to remember that you are the author. And midnight is the blank page. Close your eyes for a moment, not to sleep, but to return inward. Imagine a space within you where the noise fades, the world dissolves, and only one voice remains, your own. That space is sacred. That space is where creation begins. Neville Goddard called it the state akin to sleep, and it is here, not in action, not in striving, where transformation silently unfolds. This is not the deep unconsciousness of physical sleep, nor is it the sharp alertness of waking thought. It is the bridge, the narrow, golden thread between wakefulness and sleep, where your conscious mind softens and your subconscious mind awakens. In this state, imagination is no longer filtered, questioned, or resisted. It becomes law. It becomes truth. Why is this state so powerful? Because it is free from interference. Your conscious mind, as Neville often reminded us, is filled with doubt, with fear, with the echo of past disappointments. But your subconscious? It does not doubt. It does not judge. It accepts what you feel as real. And then, it creates accordingly. The state akin to sleep is not a technique. It is a doorway, and the key to opening it lies in surrender. You do not fight your way in. You do not think your way in. You melt. You breathe. You allow. Find a quiet place, your bed, a dim corner, anywhere the world cannot reach you. Turn inward. With every breath, let the body grow heavy, the thoughts grow quiet. Let go of the day. Let go of the name you wore, the stories you told yourself, the weight you carried. Slowly, gently, descend into stillness, not unconsciousness, but heightened receptivity. Neville Goddard taught that this receptive state is the most fertile ground in the universe. Whatever idea you plant here, if felt with intensity and assumed with confidence, must grow. Why? Because in this state, feeling is the only language your subconscious understands. Logic means nothing here. Only vibration. Only frequency. Only what is truly felt. And here is the miracle. You are not merely relaxed. You are aligned. In this space, you are no longer separate from your desire. You and the image you hold in mind are one. You no longer hope it will happen. You know it already has. That knowing, that silent, unwavering inner yes, is the true act of creation. Neville said, "You must enter into the image. You must become it in feeling, in identity." This is where that happens, not in the busyness of the day, but in the holy stillness before sleep. That is when you can drop your old identity like a coat at the door and step into your chosen self. You become the loved. You become the abundant. You become the healed, the powerful, the joyful. Not in theory, not in wish, but in felt reality. The world will not see it yet, but your subconscious has already received it. And that, in the teachings of Neville Goddard, is all that matters. So linger here. Breathe. Relax deeper still. This is no longer about trying to manifest. It is about being the manifestation. You are not asking the universe. You are becoming the universe's answer. And in this still, potent space, creation is not a question. It is already done. Now that your body is weightless and your mind is still, you stand in the sacred workshop of imagination, the true seat of creation. Neville Goddard declared that imagination is not a mental escape, but the very fabric of reality itself. This is not metaphor. This is law. What you vividly imagine with emotional conviction becomes the mold into which life must pour itself. In this quiet state, the world outside no longer holds power over you. The only reality that matters is the one you construct within. And here lies the secret. You are not a passive observer of your inner world. You are its sole creator. The moment you engage your senses to feel a new reality, you give your subconscious mind instructions it cannot refuse. Neville often said, "Dare to believe in the reality of your assumption and watch the world play its part relative to its fulfillment." But what does that mean practically? It means you do not merely see your desire as a distant dream. You do not observe it from afar. You enter into it. You become the one who already has it. If you are manifesting love, you don't visualize holding someone's hand with longing. You feel the warmth of already being cherished. If you seek abundance, don't just picture your bank account growing. You feel the deep, quiet confidence of knowing that every need is met before it even arises. It is not about seeing money. It's about being the person who never worries about it. You must lose yourself in the scene, as if the outer world has vanished, and only this imagined moment remains. What do you hear in this new life? Who is speaking to you? What do they say? What do you smell, taste, touch? What emotion flows through your chest as you stand in the middle of this fulfilled desire? This isn't fantasy. This is foundation. Neville taught that your imaginative act must carry the tones of reality, not because reality will follow, but because it already has. Your subconscious doesn't differentiate between the external and the vividly internal. It reacts only to what is sustained with feeling. It is blind to logic, blind to time. It responds only to frequency, and your emotions are that frequency. This is why you must feel it now. Not when the bank account changes or the relationship appears, but now, because now is the only moment of power. Let your visualization be short, but charged. One clear scene, one elevated emotion, one moment that captures the essence of your fulfilled life, and loop it gently, again and again, not with force, but with immersion. Allow your body to respond as if it were real. If your breathing shifts, if your heart softens, if your lips begin to curve into a smile, good. You're doing it right. You are impressing your subconscious. And as Neville said, your subconscious faithfully reproduces what is impressed upon it. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Time is irrelevant. The only question is, have you accepted it as true? Have you allowed yourself to truly feel that the desire is yours now? This is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual embodiment. It is the moment you stop wanting and begin being. And when you become it in your imagination, the world must reorganize. The unseen gears begin to shift. People, places, opportunities move toward you, not by chance, but by the invisible law of assumption. You no longer chase. You attract. You no longer ask. You express. And in expressing, you create. So sink deeper into this scene. Let it brand itself upon the canvas of your soul. Because what you feel now is not pretend, it is prophecy. Repetition is not merely a habit. It is the mechanism through which belief is formed. And belief, as Neville Goddard so often emphasized, is the foundation of all manifestation. Once you have visualized your desire and felt its reality, you must now anchor it with words. Words spoken not as a plea, but as a declaration. This is where affirmation becomes your sacred tool. An affirmation is not a magic spell. It is a statement of identity. It is you boldly claiming, "This is who I am now." Not someday, not hopefully, but now. Neville taught that assumption, if persisted in, hardens into fact. What is assumption if not a repeated inner affirmation of a truth that the outer world has not yet confirmed? It is a conscious decision to align yourself with an unseen reality, until the world, bound by law, must conform to it. And so, after your vivid inner scene, you begin to speak, quietly, confidently from the heart. I am abundant. I am already chosen. Everything I desire is already mine. These are not idle sentences. They are seeds. They are commands whispered into the infinite field of consciousness. But here's what matters most. Your words must carry feeling. Emotion is what activates them. Without feeling, affirmations are empty shells. But when charged with belief, they are creative forces, vibrating in harmony with the new reality you've chosen. Speak your affirmations slowly. Let them breathe. Let the words echo in your chest, until they no longer sound like something you're saying, but something you've always known. And if resistance rises, that's normal. It is the old self clinging to familiarity. But you are no longer available for that identity. Your role now is not to argue with doubt, but to override it calmly and consistently with truth. This is not about fighting against the old. It is about feeling the new more deeply, more frequently, more lovingly. The more you affirm, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more your subconscious accepts it as real. And remember, whatever the subconscious accepts, it must express. Neville often reminded us that the subconscious is impersonal. It doesn't care if your affirmations are bold or small, hopeful or terrified. It responds to what is impressed upon it with intensity and repetition. That is your task, to impress the new assumption until it becomes your automatic inner truth. So turn your affirmations into rhythm, into ritual. Whisper them as you wake. Repeat them as you drift to sleep. Let them replace idle thoughts. Let them fill the silence between your steps. Let them become so familiar that they feel like memory, not intention. You are not affirming to make something happen. You are affirming because it already has in consciousness. And consciousness is the only reality. Neville's voice echoes through time. Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. This is not theory. This is law. Your affirmations are the chisels with which you sculpt the new self. And that self, when felt, believed, and persisted in, becomes your world. So speak now, not with desperation, but with knowing. Speak not from the person who wants, but from the person who is. And let every word be a gentle but firm declaration to the universe. I have already become. This is the moment where all your inner work converges into silence, where you no longer speak, no longer imagine, no longer affirm. You simply feel, and then you sleep. But not just any sleep. This is sacred. This is intentional. This is what Neville Goddard called sleeping in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. To the world, sleep is rest. But to the mystic, to the conscious creator, sleep is transmission. It is the final act of surrender where your identity, newly chosen, emotionally claimed, repeatedly affirmed, is sealed into the subconscious, without interference from doubt or logic. In this space, the assumption becomes destiny. Neville taught that your last conscious thought before sleep is the seed that blooms in your life. Why? Because in sleep, the conscious mind withdraws completely, and the subconscious, the creative powerhouse of all that is, remains awake, absorbing every impression you've left behind like wet clay receiving a divine imprint. So what will you leave it with tonight? Will you drift into unconsciousness rehearsing regrets, fears, limitations? Or will you fall asleep wrapped in the warmth of the new life you've already chosen, feeling it, trusting it, living it from within? You must sleep as the new self, not wanting to be that person, but being them. If you're manifesting love, you drift off feeling adored. If you're manifesting abundance, you fall asleep with the relief and gratitude of wealth already yours. If you're manifesting healing, you sleep in the peace of wholeness, no longer seeking it, because it is done. Neville would say, you rise from the sleep the person you were when you entered it. That is not poetry. That is instruction. It means if you fall asleep feeling anxious, forgotten, unworthy, you'll carry those feelings into your next day, and life will reflect them. But if you fall asleep in the state of the fulfilled wish, you rise in alignment with it, and life has no choice but to mirror it back. This is not about hoping. It's not about waiting for signs. It's about planting the seed and trusting the unseen. The subconscious doesn't need your help once it receives the message. It knows exactly what to do. Your only role is to impress the right feeling, and then let go. Let go of the need to control the how. Let go of the urge to question when. Let go of the tendency to peek and doubt, and check if it's working. In sleep, you do not control. You surrender. And in surrender, you align with the greatest truth Neville ever taught. Assume it is real, and it will become real. So tonight, do not simply close your eyes. Descend. Float into your chosen life. Let your final thoughts be whispers of gratitude. Let your body fall away, heavy and safe, while your inner world sings the song of the life you've claimed. And as you sleep, something greater moves. Circumstances shift. People are drawn. Events reorganize. Not because you chased anything, but because you became something. This is how miracles unfold, quietly, invisibly, inevitably. And it all begins not with action, not with force, but with the way you enter sleep. That final feeling, that is your creation. That is your command. So close your eyes. Feel it done. Sleep as the version of you who already lives it. And wake, as someone the world must now respond to, differently. Because you are no longer who you were. You are who you have chosen to become.